Hello, Ken Spriggs here with what I'm calling part 3.2 of my fantastic Voyage, A Tale of Two Proteai build, focusing on the 4-inch model that I had. Now, this isn't a full build video of this because I'm just sort of going over a change of plans as far as how I'm going to build this and what kind of a diorama I'm going to build it in. Now, I also want to give a bit of an update. Obviously, it's been a little bit since I posted a video, just kind of go over some of the things that were preventing me from doing that. I did mention before that I had shoulder surgery on my right rotator cuff back at the end of March, early April, and had been recuperating from that. So still a little bit of that going on. It's pretty much back to normal, but it's still going to be quite a few months before it's 100% healed, and that was understood. The surgeon talked about that. So I still get some pain in it, and it still hurts and aches, and if I use it too much, I have to be careful. But it's pretty much fully functional. Another thing that had occurred right around that same time or shortly after was that I moved my apartment. I moved to another apartment. So this wasn't really planned. The apartment I lived in, I was in for 13 and a half years. And so naturally, a lot of the things in it were getting old and needed to be maintenance and that sort of thing, like the carpeting, the tile, it needed painted, all that stuff. So I had been on my landlord for a few years about it, but they will not change the carpet or do any major work on the apartment while you're in it. So they had told me, well, either, if I move somewhere else or if I were to move to another apartment here in this complex, that they would do it. So I was like, okay, whatever, I don't want to move. But it turned out late April, early May, that the people living next door to me, the apartment right next door, seemed to have moved out. And I knew that the carpet and everything was newer because they had only been there for a few years. And so I had approached the landlord and asked them about it. And then they were checking into it and I hadn't heard anything. So then I contacted them at the end of June because my lease was coming up to sign a new lease for the 1st of August. So I asked them about it and it was available. So I ended up moving over to this apartment next door. The eagle eye among you might notice that everything is kind of reversed. Let me turn around here. So actually, you may not notice it because it's just the way that it's situated, but it's kind of backwards from it's like a mirror reversed apartment from the one I was in. It has the same basic things, but now my balcony doors are to my right from my television instead of to the left, and then you got my air conditioner, my dining room, my kitchen. One of the obvious things, which I didn't think about it, but I always use this next to my recliner to put drinks on and things for my little work desk. But this is on the one side, so I had to actually do it backwards. So here's my chair. It's on the outside. But luckily, I've given up using this as a work bench for a long time. And I just use other little smaller tables. It's funny, I know. But anyway, so it is backwards. Everything is reversed from my original apartment. There's my stash of model kits up there in the corner. I still have some other boxed up stuff and a few things that I have to work on. But yeah, so things are backwards, whereas in the other apartment, obviously the door was to the right of the television with the way you were looking at it, and everything was backwards. So I had to put everything back up, all my shelves back up. I had to move my glass cases and everything else. So that was a lot of work. So very tiring. And especially the fact that I had just been still recuperating from my shoulder surgery. So that just really exhausted me and beat me up for it. Most of the end of July and even into the first week of August, I was moving. And so it just really exhausted me and I had no energy to do anything. And around that time, I was picking up a lot of overtime at my job. And so up until maybe like right around Labor Day, I was just working as well constantly. And it just took its toll on me, on my shoulder, on my arm. My lower back has been really hurting, that kind of thing. My age is really showing. So I just didn't have any energy or time or anything to work on any models at that point. So I am going to be getting back to the figure of Raquel Welch from 1 million years BC. I have done more work on it since the last video that I posted. I still have to do a little bit more on her and paint the base and that kind of thing. And then I'll be posting that as my next video of a build coming up, in addition to working on some other things. So, but let's go ahead and take a look at the new idea that I have for the 4-inch Proteus and how I'm going to build it up instead, because of some ideas that, that I came up with, or some other opportunities that came my way in order to build a diorama for it. All right, so in my initial video where I was going over the 4-inch version of this Proteus and talking about my plans for it while I was building the 8-inch version in the inner ear, I initially was thinking about doing the ship in the brain because of the size of it. And I've always wanted to do a diorama inside the brain, but it's very tricky because to come up with the look they have in the film is just very hard to do. They obviously used the models, but they also had, you know, the full-size actors and these big curtains and things like that. So it's hard to get that look, which was kind of spiderwebby and that sort of thing. So before I had returned back to this and started working on that, I had been watching a video from a channel on YouTube called Matteline 1967, or Matteline 1967. So a gentleman named Matt. He lives in England, and he does his own artwork for fantasy boxes for models that that don't exist, model kits that were not made. He does a lot of Jerry Anderson from like UFO or Space 1999 or the Thunderbirds or things like that. Even though there were some kits for some of these, a lot of the ships and a lot of the different vehicles were not made into model kits, or at least not ones that you could readily get. And so he paints them. He does a really good job. He paints fantasy artwork for what a model box would look like. And he even goes as far as figuring out the scale it would be in, who the manufacturer would be, because a lot of the kits that he grew up with were from different companies like Revell or Aurora or Monogram, or other ones that are more prominent over there in Europe. So he comes up with that idea and what the scale would be, what kind of plastic it would have been printed in or molded in for the time. Really cool. He has a lot of videos out there showing these fantasy boxes, fantasy artwork. I'll link one of them into the description. But the one that caught my eye is that he was talking about making actual boxes, actual full-size model boxes from his paintings and selling them pretty reasonably as well too. And so it gave me an idea, because as a child I wanted the Proteus as a model more than anything else. And the thing that was always like the holy grail of kits to me is that back then in the early 70s, we didn't have the internet. So we didn't have any way to go look up model kits or look up information. But when you bought a model like the Spindrift, for example, from Land of the Giants, or the 2001, or Moonbus, or the Space Clipper, or the Invaders UFO, or the Flying Sub or any of those, they came with instructions. And in the instructions, they would sometimes list pictures of other models that they offered, but they would also sometimes just list like a list of names of the models and like the model number, the box number, that kind of thing. And one of these was from Fantastic Voyage. Now, at that time, what they were really advertising was the animated Fantastic Voyage Voyager, which I wasn't aware of. I didn't know there was an animated series. It was only on for one season. So rather baffling why Aurora decided to make that version from Fantastic Voyage rather than the Proteus, but they did. But when I saw the artwork or the instructions, and it indicated that they had the Fantastic Voyage Voyager, not knowing about the animated, I thought, oh, that's the Proteus. And so I was excited, and I thought, oh, I need to find that. And I was looking around. Now, because I was born in 1961, a lot of these kits from the original Aurora ones, I didn't initially get when they came out because I was too young. So I didn't actually get them till the early 70s. And by that time, you know, back then, they didn't make like the large volume that you might see today where you could just go and pick it up at any time. And so you just had to look around and try to find one in your hobby shop or see if one showed up. And then in 1975, they reissued a lot of the Aurora kits with different box artwork. And they did a lot of the main ones again, including the Spindrift and the Flying Sub and the Space Clipper and things like that. Some they did not. The Moonbus they did not. There's a lot of lore about that, but it possibly because the molds were damaged, possibly something else. But in any case, they did not redo the Fantastic Voyage Voyager. So I never saw one, and I never knew that it was not the Proteus, but it was in fact from an animated series, very different sub. And until years later, I discovered that and realized, oh, this wasn't the Proteus after all. Now, obviously, nowadays they have the Mobius version of the Proteus, and of course, I'm working on a 3D printed version. So, anyway, too late. Long story short, it's already a long story. I decided then for this one to kind of imitate what I did with the Spindrift from Mobius, and this is the one from Mobius, not Polar Lights. Polar Lights did the full-size version, Mobius did the small version, and they did a small version of the Flying Sub for some reason, but they didn't do a larger version. But this is an older diorama that I made, and also from my childhood, because the Spindrift was my very first sci-fi model kit that I ever built in the early 70s. And then this one, the satellite from Hawk, I took the clear parts and made a flying saucer out of it. So I'm just kind of imitating that idea. And then I built this scratch built this entire interior to the Spindrift because the Mobius version does not come with that. And made some other adjustments to it. It actually lights up. I'm not gonna go do that right now. But the dome comes on and just fades on and off for it. So what I thought was, that would be cool then if I could do the Proteus, which is similar in size to the little Spindrift here. And that if Aurora had made it, which I wish they had, I would just need to have the model box. So I contacted Matt from Matteline 1967, and it took a little while because he's in England, so he had to make it and then mail it to me. But it came in today, and so he made a fantasy box for me that's a similar size for this model. And he had already made the artwork for the Proteus on a previous video. He did a little bit of modifications on it, and then he made the box. And so here's the box that he made for it. Very, very cool. In the style of Aurora. He even took some images, I'm assuming, from the Mobius models and put it on there like Aurora used to do for the interior. Some very cool artwork. He painted this himself. There's his MTN matte I'm not sure what the other part or what his last name is or whatever. But it has like the side artwork, a little bit different on the ends. Even has a kit number, 112467. I'm not sure what that indicates. I wonder if that has some kind of a meaning. Would be funny if he had made it like the 91035, I believe, is the official number of the Proteus. But in any case, so very cool, and it's a real box. It opens up. He even has open that up. He even has like a little paper inside where he talks about the artwork that he did on it. Here's a little sticker for him. So there's his website. If you want to go to there, he actually sells this original artwork if you want to get that. But he has a channel as well, YouTube channel, which if you want to check that out, like I said, I'll put a link in the description, and you can go check out. You can check out the video. I'm going to link the video where he talks about making these boxes because it's a recent thing. So here's the little paper that he put in it. Proteus. Imaginary bottle kit box is faithful to kit boxes in the 1970s in terms of format, dimensions, and materials. Talks about fantastic Voyage, about the Proteus. Of course, like I just mentioned, Aurora did many kits, including the Sea View and Flying Sub, Spindrift, Land of the Giants, Invaders from the Invaders. They even did the Voyager from the cartoon series Fantastic Voyage, but not the Proteus for the film. He feels the same way I do, and we even talked about it. It was kind of cool how he felt the same way, that he didn't realize they didn't have one, just like I didn't. So it's pretty cool. Talks a little bit about his artwork. He intentionally avoided any red as they may have been deemed too bloody, and Aurora were often getting negative parental feedback for their monsters and horror kits, and their box art as too violent or gory. He talks about like his series. He also built the Proteus, so he has a video series. He also builds models as well. So very cool. Here's his email address if you're interested in any of his artwork or his boxes as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a similar type of diorama like this. I'm going to do something a little different with the desk. I don't want to just copy the one that I already did, but this will be another one in a series of like the smaller versions of the models that I built as a kid from Aurora, and then making it look like it's a model on a desk or something that you're building it. I also want to figure out some way to either have the top separable to see the interior as if the model were made that way from Aurora, or even possibly cut away some of the top that comes off like they often did, where you had removable sections. We'll see. I want to play with it, but it's going to be displayed like this, like it's a model kit being built at that time. I may try to light up the top like I did with the little dome bubble on the Spindrift. But other than that, I'm not going for realism of the sub. I want it to look like a model being built as a child, me as a child. So that's the plan. Really happy with his box and the artwork that he did on it. Looks really cool. Definitely harkens back to my childhood, where if they had made an Aurora version of the Proteus, this is something that it probably would have kind of looked like. Would have been a very welcome addition to all the other Aurora models that were built at that time. So, all right. So, not sure when, and I'm definitely going to be working on this at some point here, but right now I'm going to finish up my Raquel Welch 1 million years BC before I go back to this. So this is just considered like a 0.2 of the last of the last video. I'm not considering this a build, obviously, of the Tale of Two Proteai, since I'm not actually building it. Just giving you some info on it. But definitely excited about that. I like this direction that I'm going in it a little better, because I really loved doing this with the Spindrift. I did something similar with the Moon Bus from 2001 with the Stargazer models, where I made a small version of that with the little moon backdrop with the fake box on it, that kind of thing. And I've kind of tossed around the idea of doing something with the Invaders UFO, but I don't really have a version of it that I have to scratch build it, or doing something with the flying sub from Mobius, which is also available. So we'll see. I might play with that as well. But definitely this will be a cool build, I think, with the really nice fantasy box from Matteline 1967. All right, so sorry that I didn't get anything accomplished in this video, but certainly going over some ideas on some things that I'm going to do. But like I said, I am going to be getting back into building my, let me get the figure here. I don't know if you can see her in the image there, but my Raquel Welch figure. Little sneak peek, that's all you're getting. But I am going to be returning to her and finishing the painting on her. Not a lot more on it, because other than the figure and the base, there's nothing else added extra on it. I'm not doing any kind of scenic material. I'm not, obviously, no lights or anything like that. So it's all painting. So I'm just doing some more painting and detailing and getting her skin just right and her eyes and things like that. So I should have that finished here in the near future and get that posted as well. But and then from there, I'm going to be working on the little Proteus, but there's another model I'm looking at that I want to work on too, which I'm not going to go into right now because I'm not sure exactly how the order of those are going to be. But anyway, that's giving you a quick update on where I have been and why I haven't been posting any videos. But I will be posting some more soon. And then also look forward to the little Proteus diorama with my little fantasy Aurora model box, which I'm real excited about. All right. But thanks to my subscribers and all my new subscribers. Thank you for your patience since I haven't been posting anything. But stay tuned, and I certainly will be doing that again shortly. All right. Thanks a lot.